I think it's about appropriate technique, isn't it? You shouldn't be trying to take the fucking knife off them most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just let them have the knife, but not be there and do something or other,
Yeah. It's not.
I think. Sorry, Steve. Go on.
It's not. If your body language is poor, then your chances are slightly more, but not massive more, but they are more because you're giving the impression of vulnerability. So therefore, this is where Aikido scores over the other things, because with the body language you use, your posture and everything else, you are being more open.
Yes.
All I would say is, look, who says it's the ultimate killing art? But just read The Way to Reconcile the World, and you'll find there are stories in there of people who, when they were put to the test, it saved their lives in one way or another. So it does work as a self-defense. Maybe not with a prize fighter or a knife expert, but with your average hoodlum on the street who's maybe a bit drug crazed and not particularly savvy at fighting, it maybe does.
Yeah, you're getting into the head of your attacker.
I think as well, I forgot to press record, and I have done while you were chatting. So I'm just going to say, as by way of introduction, my question to the team was, is Aikido actually a method of self-defense? And one of the things that I think where it really helps is exactly what Steve said in terms of your body posture. And it teaches you to be confident and self-confident and to be aware. And it's those things about body posture, your body language, and that the way you hold yourself, I think makes a huge difference. If you look scared and you look vulnerable, then the chances are natural instincts will be wipe out this prey. Whereas if you look strong and confident, the chances are, I don't think I'll pick on this one. I'll go and look for someone who's weaker.
You also have to define what self-defense you mean. So it can start from a level of literally, you're always beating yourself up, and you learn not to do that. You learn to like yourself, and there's a self-defense aspect of Aikido that's absolutely vitally important.
Yeah.
And your ability to form relationships gets hugely better. So instead of fighting with people all the time or feeling isolated, you're able to sort of walk the path a lot more smoothly. That in a way is self-defense, because the more friends you have, the less likely it is that you are the one that's picked on.
Yeah.
You have to eliminate the arrogance.
Right. So Dimitra, you wanted to say something, and then Finn.
You have to
hold on, Steve. Hold on, Steve. Just let Dimitra say something. Dimitra.
Yes, I was thinking that back in time, if we were to pose this question, same question to O-sensei and to one of his advanced students at the time, the ones that brought the art of Aikido to the West, I think they would just be amazed. I think there's no doubt. I think there would be no doubt for them that Aikido is also a perfect self-defense martial art. But the thing is that we cannot limit Aikido to just being a defensive art. It's so much more than that.
I totally agree with you.
It's so much more than that. Being able to defend yourself with Aikido is just one basic level of Aikido, I think.
And actually, it could be said that for us, it's the most basic level.
But perhaps the most important level.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because when you think about those early Aikido students, they came from a fighting background. People like Chiba was a hard bastard.
He was.
So he could handle himself, I would have thought, pretty well. And I think there are stories of him doing just that. So Aikido wasn't about the subtle, softer stuff that you and I, or at least I, talk about.
No, it wasn't at
but
all.
Actually, how many times did he use his Aikido in daily life? Well, I suspect not really that much. I'm not sure he's a man that I would really respect in terms of the way he carries himself and his relationships, etc. So I think what we're doing now is far more important, because I don't need to defend myself against axe-wielding nutters. But if you want to do that within Aikido, you've got a whole school of people who are, they practice it just as a martial art. They don't have that sort of mindset that I don't want to hurt anybody, which I definitely have. I'm not a fighter.
Yeah.
Quite happy to admit it. But if that's your mindset, I think you could be quite lethal with Aikido if you had to be. Finn, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, it's quite a challenging thought, but I think it's one of the fundamentals that I often don't think about enough and don't practice enough, especially in training. I think my training, I enjoy the gentler, more harmonizing aspects of it, but a lot of my practice is just standing in front of somebody trying to figure out a technique, and that's so it gets reduced to that, and that's so it's possibly I think it's important to remember that that's one of the fundamental components of.
Indeed. Judith, do you have anything to add?
I was saying twice in my life I've been attacked and I managed to get out of it without being hurt or hurting the other person. So it can work. It won't always, but it's possible.
No, absolutely. And Steve, you were going to say something, and I let Dimitra speak first. Can you remember what it was?
I was, but I'd already disrupted your class already.
No, not at all. Go for it.
Well, the thing is, it's when you feel confident. Some people regard confidence as being overconfident, being arrogant, and so on. Yeah. So you've got to strike that balance, and it's not as easy to do as one would think always. You've got to be honest with yourself and deal with that.
Yes. No, absolutely.
That's all part of Aikido anyway, whichever. Aikido come first and all the rest of come follow.
I think you can be confident without looking like you're threatening anybody else. So I think I think that's the fine line. You can carry yourself through life without rubbing people up the wrong way by making them feel that you're superior to them.
Yeah, that's not, to me, that's not Aikido.
No, well, you've overblown the confidence. You haven't found enough humility. Yeah. It is getting that balance right.
Yeah, all the subjects we talked about with Pierce hasn't missed. So
there are so many other ways in which Aikido helps us live longer and healthier lives than the actual protecting us against being attacked bit.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you, Judith. And where this all started was Dimitra asked me if I could show her some techniques to defend against the stranglehold. And so I'm going to show you some of the things that I taught my 15-year-old daughter who wanted to go on this ghastly holiday to Ayia Napa or somewhere else. And I essentially had these girls all day and taught them how to look after each other. So if I think there was about 8 of them, I said, right, you've got to promise me that when you go out, one of you is a non-drinker. And that no matter how drunk you are, when the non-drinker says it's time to go, you go. And some basic principles of how they look after each other. They were all petite 15-year-olds that looked like 18-year-olds, and they were all, and I'm not exaggerating, they were all extremely good looking. So I just considered this holiday to be extremely high risk, and I wasn't happy, absolutely was not happy, but I didn't want to be the only parent that said no. Not that I think I was the only parent who had concerns, but I was the only parent who said, right, there are conditions. And one of the conditions was a day's self-defense. So one of the things that I talked about was, let's say they're in a bar or they're in a disco, and someone's coming on strong to a particular girl. and they're closing down the natural social distance. And we normally say the natural social distance between two people is an arm's length. So, you know, if you get closer than 1 arm's length, then it can be a little bit disconcerting. You feel a little bit uncomfortable unless you've allowed that person in. But if they're imposing their will on you, it's a bit disconcerting. So hold on, I'm just going to see if I can get my able-bodied assistant. Hold on a sec. Wonderful. So the reason why I'm at Jill's house this week is because Dan said
She was a better choice than Dan, right?
Absolutely, a much better choice than Dan. But also, it's going to be extremely difficult to show a self-defense technique unless you've got a partner who is being throttled or whatever. So the first thing I wanted to start all fairly gently, very Aikido-ish and very key orientated. So there's a number of things. So if Jill is in the disco set, I'm going to, oh sorry, John. Glass of water over.
That's the first thing. Glass of water over the guy. That's a good distraction.
And actually, glass of water over a man's crutch makes him very frustrated. They don't like it on them. I won't say up them. Okay. Right. So I just closed the door for a reason. So if Jill is in, if you come here, Don. Right. So I'm getting close to Jill, and so what's your natural reaction if I step into your space? Yeah. So she steps back. Then I get into your space, and you step back, and now she's at the wall. So there's a phrase we have in everyday English, which is your back is to the wall. Okay. And what is it when your back is against the wall? You've got no other choice. What do you do now? Your back's against the wall, you're stuck. So what I taught them was if you go back to the wall, so she's on the wall now. Jill, by the way, has got her brown belt in Aikido, so she's not entirely without some experience. So what I taught the girls to do is just to put out a hand, just as unbendable arm, and extend ki. And it's really interesting. I cannot get in. I'm trying to, but Jill's hand is soft. It's perfectly soft. So it's not like a punch. It's just that I can't get closer to her. And what I taught the girls to say is, no, could you just stay there? I don't want you to get any closer. I've had enough of this. And because it's not aggressive, because it's very much Aikido-ish, it's gentle. And I literally can't get in. It's really good. It's strong. That's better. So
you got too far in. So
yes,
didn't.
Yes. So when it's unbendable arm, I literally can't. And it feels, the harder I push in, the harder it feels on my chest. So that was the first thing I taught them. And I think it's a really good technique. And when I was also at one stage asked if I would teach nurses in hospitals and doctor surgeries. And there's a surprising number of nurses that get attacked by patients, or I say patients, by people who come in, particularly to accident and emergency. They can be very drunk or they can be high on drugs and they want more. And I taught them this technique. And the first thing they said to me was, we're not allowed to touch the partner, the person attacking. I said, I don't care. You're not hitting them. You're just stopping them coming into your space. So it's completely and utterly okay to just do that. Just say, and that's, this is a sign of whoa, 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 stop. It's all across the whole world. That is open hands, don't hurt me, stop there. So I've taught this in hospitals and doctor surgeries as well. Going up quite significantly, if someone is really getting into your space and you're now a bit worried, obviously Jill is much, or most women are not as strong as men. And you don't really want to have a fight with them, although it is good to sometimes shock them and show that don't mess with me. And I'm going to put a cushion up my shirt. So I've got one cushion because this, I don't want to get hurt. So this technique is it's a really good technique. So basically your arms by your side and you go whap. So it's just a quick short slap to the solar plexus. And you basically do a ki, and I taught the girls, I mean, I explained what a ki was, but I said, when you do it, you swear. And I said, fuck off, okay? So the strike is at the same time as fuck off. So it's like this, fuck off. And you do that to the solar plexus. So Jill was very kind earlier on. She found it very difficult to hit me. Effectively, she was pushing me, and pushing me isn't as effective. You want to strike with ki, like a slap with the ki going right the way through, and you want that with the ki. Okay. So.
Think of him spilling the water, Jill.
Yeah.
That was much better. That was really good. Okay.
You just needed an audience, didn't you?
Yeah. Just thought about the water. Yes. So, earlier on, because we were practicing it, she kept pushing me, and of course I'm heavier than Jill, and it wasn't as effective. That time she struck me, and you know, I'm glad I had the cushion up my chair. So that is another really good one. Again, you're extending ki but very strongly, and then you have the ki, which assaults the ear, which is also very good. And essentially what you're doing is you're saying, don't mess with me. You hear stories of a little mouse. I've seen a YouTube video being attacked by a cat. It's literally in a corner, and the cat is thinking, well, I can't understand why I can't kill it, but the mouse is sort of fighting back. So the next one I want to show is what happens if, now, Steve very kindly explained to me that there's a difference between a strangle and a choke. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 strangles where you're holding with 2 hands around the neck, or a strangle from behind around the neck. And generally, you've got between 5 and 10 seconds before you go unconscious if they cut the carotid arteries off from your head. You haven't got long. And I was saying to Steve that this is all very well, but it's like first aid. If you don't practice it, you won't remember to do it when you're in a very high stress situation. So, you know, I'll show you it, but unless you practice, it's probably better than nothing. It might pop up in the very depths of your mind, but you've got to practice it. So the first one is when you're being strangled. I'm just going to show you with Jill, and then she can do it to me properly. So Jill is strangling me here, yes? So it sounds really bizarre, but you just put your arm straight up in the air. Okay, you don't, there are lots of nasty ones, and I'm going to show you a couple of nasty ones, but this one is quite, again, ki orientated. You put your arm in the air and you think of your center. Now, Jill's got very gentle, delicate wrists, so I can't do this quickly. So but you turn from your center, and it is just impossible to hold on. It is really, really difficult to hold on. So arm up in the air and you turn. And it's a bit like the principle of if you hold your fingers together. Quentin was doing this as a key test. The weak point is where your fingers touch. And also, you know, anyone who's been in one of my classes, I say thick to take and then thin to break. So you turn your wrist and you come out from where your thumb and forefinger meet. So when you're here, when you're being strangled, there's a gap in the middle. So you need to make use of that and turn, and it's really hard for the person to maintain a throttle on your throat. Okay, so I'll do it, Jill. The only trouble is it's so horrible. Both of us hate having hands around your throat. It's horrible. So I've got my hands around Jill's throat as hard as I can. Yes.
Now I'm going.
Yes, you're going. Yes. Just yes. It's almost like it puts Nikia on. It's very bizarre. But the important thing is not to move from the shoulders, but to move your whole lower body, because we know if you're coordinated, the whole body goes, and you have a coordinated mind and body. So that's really, much more powerful. So that's one way, Dimitra, just arm up in the air and then run like hell. I can't hear you.
This is a very good technique because it's so simple. The best are the simplest ones.
Yes, it's not violent. I'm going to show you a violent one. So I thought I knew this one, and I looked on YouTube, and all of the others, they're horrible. So
why arm up in the air?
Sorry?
Why arm up in the air?
I think because I don't know is the answer truly, Quentin, but it gives you leverage. So if Jill here, if I turn, all that happens is her thumbs stick in my throat, okay? But when I have here, I've got leverage.
That pushes my arm out of the way, actually.
It goes against the Nikkio joint, that joint there. But if I didn't have my arm up in the air, and also I've got, the shoulder is quite a bulky unit. So I've got my shoulder, which is a bigger joint than her wrist.
Did it raise her shoulder? I can't see her far shoulder when you did it. Does it raise her shoulder when you do that?
On this side. I go to this side.
Yeah, a little bit.
It does.
That lifts her shoulder up, does it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And also got the capacity to hit her then if you wanted to.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? So I go like this, and this is what I was talking about, the next stage. I come here, I come out, and then elbow straight back into the jaw. So that's if you think I'm seriously in danger and you want to make a counter strike. So it's arm up, turn away, wham, straight back. Now that bit I probably would find more difficult to do because like you, I'm not a fighter. And I think you have to practice that bit. And when I was asking Jill to do it, again, she's not a fighter. So she found that bit a bit difficult to do. Because it's not.
Can't practice it for very long, can you? Because it's going to seriously take people out. But if your life was threatened, you might find that you had a greater will to do that.
Absolutely. So you can start off nice and then bang, straight into the jaw, okay? And again, you're using your whole 1 point. You're not delivering it just with your elbow, it's your whole body goes into it. So that's taking it to another level where it's a little bit unpleasant. So then one of the things I saw on the internet was I'm being strangled. So your elbows are up, you pull down, and then knee in the groin. You can't see that bit, sorry.
We got the general idea.
So I pull down and knee. So, and actually, again, that's surprisingly effective. So, no, you can do to me.
Yeah.
So, yes, you go to the wrist, okay, and she just pulls literally down, yes, and at the same time a knee, and I would again say a shout at the same time is a really good thing. So 1, 2 is literally 1, 2, and then a shout at the same time. So that's quite violent. And
your question about the shoulder, Quentin.
Yeah.
It's almost like shrugging your shoulder, but a tinier movement.
Yeah, well, if you can,
so your arm coming up, but you don't want that to move. It's just that.
I was asking whether the attacker's shoulder lifted, and it did. And when that happens, the attacker is less stable.
Yes, it goes the other way. Yes, the other way round. If you see what I mean. Yes.
Then some of the other things that are on the internet, the guy was talking about an eye poking or literally just a strike to the throat. So someone's got you and you just go wham, straight into the throat. But, you know, if it doesn't work, we're going to have a very angry attacker who's going to squeeze even harder, and you've only got 5 to 10 seconds.
I think
The next
they're
one,
pretty angry already at that stage, Piers.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So the next one is I'm the attacker, and I'm going behind. So I've got my arm right around her throat. So I'm attacking from behind. So I'm coming from behind, and I attack. And she's got really not a lot of time now. She's literally got maybe 5 to 8 seconds. So here, Dimitra, what you have to do is first of all, she puts her hands up to pull my elbow down as much as she can and tuck her chin in, okay? So I've lost a little bit of, I can't feel her throat at this moment in time. Now, she can't try and pull away from me. If she pulls away, that's a fight. I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm taller. She has to turn into me. So turns towards me, not into my shoulder, but towards my tummy. So you start to turn towards me, yes, this way. And it's hard. And ideally, she wants to turn in and then again elbow to the
like a spiral, turning like a spiral, coming up.
Yes. So, but the first thing is you have to, if Jill holds me,
Yeah.
is you've got to get your chin down and not be strangled, and then it's turn and strike with that elbow as I turn.
Yeah.
And
My teacher,
yes, Judith.
my teacher taught this one, and one very helpful piece of advice was think weight hand side in both elbows, and that really helps with the pulling down bit.
Absolutely, because we're assuming that this guy is big and strong,
That's
and
correct.
we know that if a big strong guy did it to me, he's going to be bigger and stronger than me. So if I can just get my fingers just latched over his arm, and as you say, think down, just think down, and get your chin down, that's going to be really hard for him to complete the strangle. But I mean, you're very vulnerable. But then, of course, you've got a back kick, or you've got an elbow, or a head in the face. You know, whenever two people in close proximity, there's danger for both of you, and it's about staying calm and actually being aware that you can deliver some pretty unpleasant things too. So, you know, one of the things we see is often a back strike to the groin area. So just allowing your arm to go down, you know, just poof. Or if you have a little raised knuckle into the solar plexus, into the eye, into the throat, you know, but you have to stay calm and you have to practice these things. Otherwise, you know, you're never going to do it. And essentially, whoever is going to be doing the attacking, thank you, Joe. By definition, they're not going to be nice people, and they're happy to do horrible things to nice people, whereas nice people don't like doing horrible things to anybody. You know, and that's a massive advantage that they have. They are happy to inflict evil on nice people. So you know, hopefully, Dimitra, that answers the questions, but you have to practice. Even if you just do that and move.
Yeah, here, just want to say that when Yanis Sensei was alive in Greece, we would often practice some of those techniques. That was so, but because we don't practice them so often now, I had forgotten. But this last one that you showed,
yeah,
it reminded me of what you were saying, because the first thing I remember he would also say is to create some space between your neck and this. This is the first thing.
Yes.
Create some space and take a few seconds of advantage so you can breathe and continue and do more. But this one that you demonstrated with rising the hand and turning spiraling the whole axis.
Yes.
This is really beautiful. I saw it for the first time. and it's really beautiful because it's so simple. You just turn, and
Yes.
it works with the mechanics of the body.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and then when you talked about the possibility of striking the eyes or the solar plexus, then it just reminded me that not necessarily in strangling attacks, but in these kinds of attacks, Tai Chi hit is right here.
Yes.
Just going right here.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, it goes here and finish.
Yeah. So, but you have to stay calm and confident to be able to do any of these things. But I think that's one of the things that Aikido, Tai Chi gives you. You know, the whole point is actually, Steve mentioned it earlier, most people freeze. And that is the worst of the Fs. Fight is not so good, but it's probably going to hopefully make you survive. Flight, as long as you're fast enough, that's okay. But my knees are shot, so I'm not running anywhere because I can't. It's too painful. And freezing, well, that's the worst one because that's neither running or fighting. So you don't want to freeze. You either want to flee or fight.
So, Steve, what was the difference between a strangle and a choke?
I'll let him tell you that. It was very good. Steve, can you tell me again?
You want to be shown?
No, I want you to tell us what the difference is between a strangle and a choke.
Yeah, the difference is that a choke is moving your air passage. In other words, closing the air passage down so that you can't breathe very well. Okay, and it hurts as well, rather a lot. A choke is you can trace that.
Hold on, that was
down.
the choke. That was the choke, Steve.
Yeah. Oh,
now say what a strangle is.
Yeah, strangulation is here, going down, and you will find there are, with most men actually, more than women, a fair bit of muscle that you can find it yourself actually. If you put your thumb here and the little
finger there. You can only see
there,
your forehead, Steve, which is a bit frustrating. I want to stand up and look over the edge.
It's basically doing this
that way and that way. Okay. Right. So if you squeeze very gently and pull the muscle forward towards, and you hold it there, and you keep talking, and you
don't do it, Steve. Don't do
it. You can get a resolution without if you had to defend from that action as well as take it in an attack.
Essentially, the difference between the two is that one is blocking off the airway just, and the other is
blocking off the airway,
and the other's cutting off the blood to the carotid arteries.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
That's different.
No, it's very interesting. And also, Steve mentioned earlier, when it's a choke, you have a sort of, you make a choking sound, obviously, because you can't breathe properly. And you think, well, of course, it's called a chokehold. So, okay. So actually, that's taking quite a lot of time, it was very interesting debate, and I hope you found the defenses interesting. So let's get to our nice stuff, the gentle Qigong and the breathing and the meditation. So over to Dimitra, who will close our session as usual with some lovely Qigong. Okay, Steve, so basically Dimitra gets us to do some Tai Chi and some breathing. And so I'm going to pass over control to Dimitra, and you can either take part or just listen to what she's saying.
Okay.
Thank you, Piers. I just thought of connecting this first movement with something that you just demonstrated a few minutes ago. This pushing that you demonstrated to the solar plexus to send somebody away. And it reminded me, it's one of the gestures that we have been doing in Tai Chi when the yin-yang You know, we were doing
absolutely, absolutely.
Actually, we were practicing this today with this the group this afternoon, and we stay like in triangular hammy position with, let's say, the left foot in the front, and we hold the circle of emptiness, and then we open in the yin, breathing in, opening yin, while we move back, and then closing the circle. And while we do the yang, it's exactly that. It can be, you know, if I do it, actually, one of the practical uses of this is to push in breathing in and then, yeah. And it is really effective because we don't just push with the arms are not moving by themselves, but the whole body is moving from the center.
Yes.
The whole body is moving from the center, like when we do torifune in Aikido. It is very powerful, and depending on how tall the other person is, it can either go to Tantien area, because if this strike is very hard, it can really cause a heart arrest. If it is directed to the heart area, it can cause a heart arrest. So in order to protect the other person, we can lower our center and take it to the stomach or Tantien area. And it is really effective. The other person just, with the slightest effort, goes 2 meters behind. And so this is the practical of yin yang Qigong, breathing in and breathing out, expelling. But we also use it as Qigong of expelling energy from the heart, like cleansing, like misogi, like cleansing stuck energy from the lungs and from the heart, or stress or fear or anxiety or fear or even anger, you know, like cleansing the body. So we breathe in and breathe out. Breathing in and out. And 2 more times. And with the other, change legs. Breathing in and out. And here we are extending from the center of the palms energy forward, the same way we extend ki in Aikido from the fingertips forward for meters away. The same way in this one, we extend the energy from the center of the palms, which is related to the pericardium, to the heart. So, breathing in and out. One more. And it helps to cleanse stuck energy in the heart, like fear or anger or whatever. So this is related that we give energy from heart through the heart points to the other person.
That's, Dimitra, that's really interesting, because we've been doing that exercise with you and also with Chu for a little while.
Yes.
And that just changes it just by what you're saying, that extension of energy and the cleansing aspect just gives it a new dimension.
Yes, I think this is the same, I think, in Tai Chi, and also as I've been seeing in Aikido, all those things. So you can work on either energy level or on cleansing, or it depends on where you focus your mind. You can use it as a defensive technique or as a Qigong energy or cleansing. I think it's the same with Aikido techniques.
I think it's like the key development exercises. If you look at the movements, you can find all of those movements in martial technique.
Yes.
It's the same with Qigong. You can see the movements and they all come out in the martial aspect if required.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. And then we can continue with, I would like to continue so we can learn it a little more in depth with the movement that we were doing the last time. We can stay in like Kibadachi position, with the arms, arms forward in front of the heart, the central axis. And then I move Can you see me?
Yeah, I'm just trying to make your picture bigger.
You have to pin it.
In the video, don't you? Yeah, okay.
Speaker view. Whatever it's showing, if it's showing gallery view, click it.
Yeah, no, I've got, that's fine. That's great. Thanks, Dimitra. Go.
So we stay in Kibadachi position. Both arms are in front of the central axis, and then the hand that is inside near to the heart, it's the one that is going to open first. So we slightly move our weight towards the right, while the right arm is opening, breathing in, is rising up to the shoulder level, and then elbow back, and breathing out, sending energy forward. And then shifting the weight to the left arm is rising, breathing in, and out, straight forward in front of the central axis. And alternating, shifting the weight to the right, breathing in, and out, directed to the heart center. Left arm is rising, breathing in, to the right, inhale, and exhale one. So the inhalation lasts for 2 movements, 1, 2, and exhale 1. As we notice, we actually synchronize the 2 arms together because one is opening and sending energy forward, while the other one is just doing a semi-circle and directing the energy down. So we do one more time. Right arm is rising, inhale, exhale, forward. It goes to the face, actually. And left arm is rising and directed to it's like a Jordan hit to head and face. This one. And now we do a Qigong that is very ancient. It's called Paoi, which means embracing the one. It's very simple, but very old. It helps to ground the energy down. And breathing in, create the circle of emptiness, move, and breathing out, center down, and bring the center down, the circle down to Tantien. Breathing in, Aoi, embracing the one. And breathing out, bringing, lowering this big circle of energy into our Tantien, while grounding the feet, connecting to the earth. Breathing in. It's like connecting with infinity, with infinite space, and just bringing it to here and now, bringing it to the present and Tantien. One more time. Breathing in. And we'll do the Tian Tu, second part, Tian Tu, which means heaven and earth. It's like Tai Chi. Breathing in, the arms rise up, following the central axis and open up from the crown of the head. Breathing in, creating a big circle that closes, exhaling into exactly our Tantien. Circle is closing in front of Tantien. Then from Tantien, we open up another circle, breathing in. That closes in front of the crown of the head. And exhaling, following the central axis, we gather, bringing down into the body. Passing from head, heart, center, Tantien, all the way down to the feet. So the energy is rising from the earth, through the body. Breathing in, opening up from the crown of the head. And exhaling, it is gathering into our center. Then from the center, breathing in, it's opening again, spreading, connecting with the energy sky. And then through the crown of the head, the energy is directed into the body, through the main line, the central axis, all the way down to returning back to the earth. Another circle, rising, breathing in. Exhaling into the center. Breathing in, opening. And breathing out, gathering, bringing into the body. So they say heaven meets earth, bringing sky, heaven energy into the body, connecting back with the earth. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Center. And inhale. Closing the circle above the crown of the head and exhaling, bringing into the body like liquid light that goes into the central line of the body, all the way down to the sole of the feet. And then we finish with the three centers, lower Tantien, middle Tantien, and upper Tantien. Breathing in, the arms come and touch the body on the center, the Tantien area. And breathing out, expanding, opening the space. The arms come as we inhale and touch the heart center. And exhaling, slowly opening up, like we open a window to the light. We open up the heart center. And then we come to the upper Tantien, breathing in, touching the forehead. And breathing out, creating space. Getting all bigger and bigger. Space expanding around the head and above the body. We stay there just for a few seconds, breathing, shoulders relaxed. And the mind is, while the feet are rooted, the mind is focusing mostly on the space above the head, on the empty space above the head. And then we close the circle, inhale and exhaling to the central channel. Gather the energy into the central channel. It's called Chong Mai, central channel. And 2 feet together, inhale. And we close by gathering energy into the central channel, Chong Mai. And last one, 3 times. Inhale. And exhale. Through the crown of the head, we direct the energy into the head, following the central axis, chest area, Dantian area, all the way down to the feet.
Thank you, Dimitra. That was fabulous, as always.
I get a really strong sense of energy from it. The hair on my arms actually stands on end. It's like someone's put a static electric balloon next to me or something.
It's really good, these exercises. I love them. And I've got 2 girls at work who suffer from anxiety. And I've said, would you like me to do some Qigong? And I'm going to teach them some of the things that you've been teaching us, Dimitra.
That's great, because those things are to be used, not, it's to be used and be spread to as many people as possible.
Oh.
It's good that we can share this online.
Absolutely. I'll give you feedback when I start. It'll hopefully be next week sometime. Yes. Great stuff. Well, thanks everyone for showing up. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Judith. That's very lovely to see you both. And if there are any more requests, it helps me enormously if you ask me a question and then I have to think of the answer and I can work a session around it. But I definitely get inspired by these questions and challenges. So if you can think of anything that you want to cover for next week, then that's great. If anything springs to mind, just shout it out.
Okay. Well,
great stuff. Okay, well, thanks very much, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you very much indeed. Much appreciated.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye all.